Hello, welcome to the third episode of the SkillShine25 podcast. My name is Veer, a local high schooler, and I'm joined by my friend Lucas. Today we are meeting with Mr. Mikkel Gimena, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, production manager at Milliken and Company as a chemical engineer. Mr. Gimena, we'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey guys, my name is Mikkel Gimena. I'm a production manager with Milliken Company, like we said. By degree, I'm a chemical engineer, so I went to school for chemical engineering. I was a chemical engineer for three and a half years, and the last year moved into the management role all with my company. I work at a company that's based in manufacturing. We do a little bit of everything. Where I work in is our chemical sector, so we're making either performance colorants, so think of like Tide and what makes Tide blue, dish soaps. We work in that sector with colorants. We also work with a plastic additive, so think of like Tupperware or storage bins. My company, actually where I work, we make an additive that goes into plastic that makes it clear. On top of that, we also work with silicons like microchips, a little bit of everything in chemicals. We also work in textiles, so think fire retardant materials or military grade materials, stuff like that. Along with that, we also have a floor covering division, so think like hotel floors or airport floors, stuff like that. And then we also have healthcare, but also with healthcare, it's like bandages and wounding, so kind of textiles as well. But a little bit of everything from Milliken.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And now that we know a little bit more about you, do you mind elaborating on what your career entails?
Yeah, absolutely. So chemical engineer, it sounds big and broad, and honestly it kind of is, but for me, what it comes down to is being a problem solver. I think at root that's what all engineers do, and hopefully that's what drives each and every one of us to do what we do. So I'm a problem solver when it comes to that, and working with chemicals for the most part. So when I first started my career about 4 years ago this time, I worked as a process engineer. So really what that meant is I worked in a manufacturing plant, and they gave me the keys to one of our processes. So think of an entire building with reactors, pumps, tanks, and making that plastic additive. And my job was to learn the ins and outs of it, both the chemistry and the mechanics of it all, figure out where we had slowdowns or we had breakdowns and what we could do about that, whether that was install a new piece of equipment or upgrade our programming to make it run better, or introduce a new chemistry that would help solve issues. So at root, that's what I did. Did that for 3 years, did that with one of our legacy processes, so one of our older processes, for about a year. And then after that, we actually had a startup inside of my plant where we were building a new building up from scratch. So I worked on that for about a year, and that was interesting for me because I, that first year came in and worked on a process that was already working, and I was trying to figure out how we could make it better, safer, faster, more efficient, make more product, versus the second year I worked in building a building up from scratch, putting chemicals into reactors for the first time, and working out cakes. Example I can give is, we have batches of material, that's how long it takes to make something, and at that time our batch took us about a week to get from start to finish, from the start of one reactor to the end of the reactor line.
Wow.
And by the time I finished our work there for a year, we got our cycle times down to 14 hours. So
Wow.
rather than a week, every 14 hours we were churning out batches.
It's crazy.
So yeah, did that for 3 years total, and then the last year I moved into management. So in the same department that I once worked as an engineer, I'm now a manager, over 30-ish folks. So where I was helping make the processes, the chemical processes, more efficient, safer, more reliable, make more material, XYZ. Where I was doing on the process side, on the chemistry side, on the reactor side, now I'm doing that with people. What can I do systematically, organization-wise, give them the tools that they need to succeed. So likewise, like I said earlier, problem solving. At one time I was problem solving chemistry and chemical related issues. Now I'm trying to problem solve people, which is a challenge, but one that's a good one.
Wow,
Yeah,
I mean, in these past 4 years, it really seems like this is your passion. It's something you enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, excuse me, but I'm guessing that there were some key situations within your childhood that led you down this pathway.
Yeah, absolutely. So my dad has an engineering background. He's a mechanical engineer. So growing up, I honestly felt like I wanted to, like my dad's my hero, my role model, and someone I've always looked up to. So felt like I always wanted to go in his footsteps. And in that, growing up, my mind just catered towards like science and math. So growing up, those are the classes I always like did best in and felt like I wanted to go deeper in. So in my mind, like somewhat had a narrowed down scope of, okay, I think I want to be an engineer growing up. I don't really know what or how or why, other than, it's what my dad has done. It's what I think I'm good at. But as I went through middle school, high school I took engineering related classes. My high school, so I'm from Rock Hill, South Carolina, so about 30 minutes south of Charlotte. My high school had 4 engineering classes. We did everything from like microchip soldering to CAD design, to architectural calculations where we were like building bridges calculations wise, and then we would go and build them like just small scale in class and built houses and stuff. So got a broad base of engineering in high school, and at that point I'm like, okay, like I want to pursue this long term. And like I said, there's just the little quirks of solving problems when you get handed something and say, all right, figure out how you make this work, figure out how you make it better or faster or more efficient. Whatever the case may be, just those things just led me to where I'm at. And I think for me, where I really felt like, okay, this is, when I knew for sure that I was like, I'm where I need to be, my sophomore year of college, I was taking one of our first chemical engineering classes, and our final exam was one question. And it was, think of it like a giant puzzle piece, or a puzzle, and you're missing one piece. So our final exam was one question, 100 points, and it was essentially you had to figure out like this chemical reaction and the way that it worked, and balance out all the different, the mass balances, the energy balances, and for me it was like, I remember opening up that exam, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's one question, like studied for weeks leading up to this exam, and I remember opening it up and like, shoot. But then as I sit there and start like doing calculations and putting pieces together, it all kind of just fell into place. And I think I needed like a 90 something to get an A in the class, and I got exactly that. And then
Wow.
after that I was like, okay, I think I know where I'm
It's amazing.
It's like, it's almost as if the challenge that comes with the puzzle and then the satisfaction at the end of that puzzle, it's a whole different reward
For sure.
that you experience. And I definitely see where the passion came from.
Yeah.
And if anything, I have a prediction almost. Is, were you interested in any puzzles growing up as a kid? Like any
kind of like
through
problem
video
solving,
games,
yeah.
problem
Yeah.
solving?
Honestly, I think one for me, and I think a lot for a lot of engineers growing up, was Legos, like playing with little Legos, putting pieces together. Yeah, I mean, that's a puzzle to, like make, like whether it's like a Star Wars thing or like, some kind of just creation. Yeah, for me, that was always fun growing up. And I mean, I know my dad loved it because they were just like, okay, like starting to put the engineering mind together. But yeah, that was fun for me. And then sure, like playing video games as a kid, and whether it was like a really hard, math or challenge, and trying to put the pieces together to solve the problem. But for me, at root, that's always been something that's kind of been deep down. I've loved just solving problems in whatever way I can.
Yeah, it sounds like problem solving creativity is definitely a root personality trait for a lot of engineers to have that helps them sprout their passion. But you had mentioned that your original inspiration to go into chemical engineering was through exposure through your family and your father especially.
Yeah, absolutely.
So on the topic of exposure, what's one way what are some ways you think high schoolers that may be interested in this profession can get exposure from an early start?
Absolutely. I think for a high school student, the biggest thing you can do, you've got so much time on your hands. I know it may not feel like that in the moment. I have a sister who's a junior in high school, and she's in the midst of AP exams and studying, so I get it, and she feels like she's drowning. But what I tell her, and I'll tell you guys, is you have, there's very few seasons of your life where you'll have as much time, just free time, that you have than right now. So with that, and to use that time well, what I would say is go join as many clubs as you can at the schools that you're at, or go start a club if you've got an interest in something. Talk to people, get network, start building relationships, and get just a general feel of what you want to do. Some people, similar to me, you may have some thoughts in your head of going up through childhood and going up into high school. Like you maybe want to know what you want to do, or generally know what you want to do. Some people have no idea what they want to do, and both of those are okay. But it's just okay, like giving yourself a broad sense of, in a world where I could be anything, what do I want what are the things that I want to go do. So like for me in high school, I joined every club. I was in a political action club. I was in an environmental science club. I was in our Model UN club. I did. Gosh, what else? I was involved in Young Life in high school and still involved in Young Life now. Did a little bit of everything and just getting a feel of, okay, what do I want to go do in this world? I feel like I know what I want, but what are the things out there? What can I go try? And for me, just building relationships and networks and connections. One of the things that I did in high school was I took AP Chemistry my junior year, and then my senior year I was a TA, so a teacher assistant for my AP Chemistry teacher. So just was in the back, working on lab stuff, trying to help set her up to do her job well. And in that, I built a relationship, which I actually was able to use moving forward, or use that network that I built. So my freshman year of college, I'm going through starting my chemical engineering classes, starting my chemistry classes at Clemson, and I was looking for an internship. I was like, hey, I want to stand out, I want to be different, I want to have some experience, before I graduate college, get some experience. So I emailed her and I said, hey, Dr. Pugh, do you have any internship opportunities, anything that you need? Context, forgot to mention this. Her husband actually owns a chemical plant. So she's a AP chemistry teacher. She has a PhD in chemistry, so taught at my high school, and her husband owned a chemical plant. So I emailed her and said, hey, is there anything you guys need? Can I come help out in the summer? And so my freshman year, I reached out to her for that summer. She said, yeah, we'd love to have you. We can have you as a lab tech. So essentially I was there, and I would, similar to my plant, but a lot smaller scale. They're a manufacturing site, so as you're making their chemicals, you're taking samples and they're bringing it to the lab. We're testing them to see if they're the right strengths or the right colors or the right concentrations, all of that. So we're doing these tests to see if they're good quality. So did that for summer. And yeah, so root of the question, building relationships with the people around you, whether that be from school, whether that be from your families or any parents, connections that you can have from their workplaces, joining as many clubs as you can, getting a sense of, okay, in this giant world, what can I do? Where's my place? Where do I, as my puzzle piece, fit in the giant puzzle of life? And then, yeah, just take advantage of the time. You really do have very few seasons of your life that you have as much time as you do, so try to use it well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm getting from that the idea that you started off in a broad field. You were trying to explore, figure out in this jungle of ideas what your passion is.
Yeah.
And then eventually, once you found that niche, you put all your effort there, and you just, because you do what you enjoy, right?
Absolutely.
And you do the best at what you enjoy, and that's definitely been great for you.
And I really do resonate with just trying everything at first. That's what I'm kind of doing right now. I'm trying as much clubs and any kind of exposure I can get to different, just different things, and seeing where I fall in and where I excel at. Yeah. So, and this is the perfect time to do it because you got so much time, so many opportunities more than ever now, and it's a true blessing.
Yeah. Another thing I would say too is not being afraid to fail. There's nothing wrong with going down a path and trying something and realizing, oh, this isn't for me. And that can be in high school, that can be in college, maybe switching major. It might be in your career. I was doing some career talking at a middle school a month ago with my work. It was me and then two people who work kind of in financial advisor, financial analyst roles. Talking to them, and we both, or all three of us, spoke about our careers. And one of the guys said, yeah, I worked in a manufacturing plant for 10 years, and then realized, wait, I want to work with people and I want to work in finance. And took a complete 180 in his career, and now he's doing what he loves. So not being afraid to fail and realizing that it's okay to go try things. Whether that's, high school now, college, if that's the path that you choose to go down, or even afterwards of figuring out, all right, like we've been talking about, where do I fit in the puzzle, and how do I pursue that and utilize my abilities to the best that I can.
So we've noticed that you've said that you definitely appreciate the relationships you gained along the way. And that, along with chemistry, has been a vital source of the passion you have today. So when we were looking at your LinkedIn, we noticed that you described yourself as somebody who bridges the gap between science and business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And is that the connection.
Yeah, I think that's so key. So like engineers kind of have this, whether true or not, this stereotype about them of just like nerdy, kind of quirky, introverted folks who do their work and kind of do their thing. Probably picture a thought in your head, but I think where you kind of can help bridge that gap and really stand out as an engineer is having those soft skills, being able to bridge, like I described myself, the business side along with the science. There's a lot of really good engineers. Honestly, there's a lot of people that I work with that are a whole lot smarter than me, but being able to be that middleman or that middle ground of, okay, you can know the technical abilities and like know the deep-rooted chemistry and math behind the work that we do, but being able to understand the business side and the people side. So like I said, I've been trying to do that the last year of working in management. So, okay, like I know how processes work, I have technical abilities, and now trying to build up the people management skills and really bridge that gap. Like I said, I think there's a lot of really good engineers, and I think there's good people managers out there. Being able to be a mix of those two, I think, is really unique in what I'm trying to build on in my career.
Yeah.
And how have you seen growth or some sort of flourish in one of those industries based on connecting them?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that I've seen, it's honestly been like right in front of me this past year. So I've been a production manager now for about a year and a half, and right around my 1 year mark, a knock came on my door at work, and I got offered this essentially consulting role at one of our plants in Gainesville, Florida. So tomorrow, and why we had to reschedule a couple times, tomorrow I'll be flying out to Gainesville.
Oh,
I'll
wow.
be there Monday through Friday for work, where I'll help consult one of our plants down in Gainesville. So helping them with cultural issues, helping them with people issues and technical things that we're working on down there. So what that looked like is just me, again, trying to utilize our networks at work, meeting different folks and the ways that they go about their jobs. So I work for a mid-sized employer, anywhere from the ballpark of like 10, 15,000 people, not as big of a company like Austin who works at UI. But yeah, working with the people at our company, trying to figure out what they do and ask questions. And yeah, built a network, and when this project came along where we wanted to really revamp and culture shift one of our plants, they thought of me, and I was extremely humbled and honored, but they thought of me as someone to help join that team. So every other week, me and 4 others go down to that plant in Gainesville and really sit in with our plant down there. Where Austin works, he's an external consultant, so he works for EY, and he'll go help other companies improve their processes, improve their culture, versus I am working internally. So since October, November, I've been going down and internally helping one of our plants, consulting them on how we can improve our processes there. But yeah, for me, I think that was that was so honoring, because I felt like I'm still figuring out how to people manage and helping bridge that gap. But yeah, the fact that they thought of me as someone that can help be part of that team, I was really honored, and I've been helping doing that and just seeing the broader scope of our company. Like I said, we do so many different things, and I've worked in that one plant that I mentioned for the last 4 years, and now the last 6-8 months working elsewhere and seeing the broader scope of what we do. It's so cool.
Congratulations on that opportunity. That sounds great.
So how has these chemical industries, or your chemical company specifically, kind of created this broader connection to each other?
Yeah. So I think one thing we do well in our company is we talk. We've got dozens of different sites. So we're headquartered in Spartanburg, South Carolina. We have dozens of sites around Spartanburg, South Carolina. The plant